The story of geometry. This story begins in Egypt, ancient Egypt. Egypt is and was a dry, sandy desert. The only place plants would and could grow was on the bank of the Nile River. The waters ran from south to north, starting in some distant mountains far away. Every spring, it rains and rains in these mountains, and the water flows down the river and floods the land. The flooding was a good thing. It carried mud from the faraway mountains that fertilized the land. This is why it was called the Gift of Egypt, or the Great Gift of Egypt. But the flooding caused some problems as well. Every year, the lines that separated one farmer's fields from another got washed away in the flood. When the waters withdrew and planting season began, the farmers would argue about whose land was whose. So every year, a group of people had to solve this problem. These people were called Harpanodapta, which means rope stretchers. They would stretch a rope that had knots at certain intervals. Then they would take the rope and weigh it down at the knots and bring the ends together. In this way, they would create a right-angled triangle. By flipping the triangle over, they could measure a rectangle. Using this method, they could measure the land and figure out which land belonged to which farmer. This is how geometry began, by measuring the earth. We get the word geometry from the Greek geo, which means earth, and metron, which means measurement. Geometry grew from the discoveries people made while working. Whenever a problem arose, they had to find a practical solution. Today we use geometry for all sorts of things, from building houses to building spaceships. And it all began with the ancient Egyptians. Your follow-up is to try to retell the story to someone else. It can really ingrain a story in your brain once you've said it out loud. Enjoy!